All right, how's it going, everybody? It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We've got a 10-game slate to discuss for tonight, and it is a big slate. That means that Nolan Kelly joins me. Nolan, how are you doing today?
What up? Make some money tonight?
Hope so. It's been a rough last few days for me, but how'd you end up doing last night?
Just kind of broke even. That
Yeah,
OV, that OV goose egg killed my best lineup.
yeah. I don't know. I felt good about the teams I was on last night. It looked okay for me for a while, and then I slowly kind of fell off towards the end. I think that Columbus game actually hurt me a lot. Had a bunch of Columbus exposure. Had Corpusalo. He gave up 3 goals late in that game to lose, but that happens sometimes. I don't think I was live to really win anything, but could have been a much better night if things would have broke my way. We'll take a look at lineup study in just a bit. Man, we've only got about 4 weeks left
It's
of
crazy,
regular
right?
season
Like I
hockey.
think like exactly 4 weeks
Yeah, I think we end maybe
or
four
a
weeks
month.
from this Saturday. I want to say it ends on a Saturday, but
I think
um,
you're
so,
right.
so
Sooner for you too, aren't you? You got a nice like Mexico vacation planned or whatever. So
yeah, I'll
it's
be in
leaving me on my
California.
own.
I'll be in California, but
Same thing.
yeah, it ends up being like yeah, same thing. Uh, it ends up being like the last week or so of the regular season. So didn't really plan it that way, but going away with the family
It
in a few
happens.
weeks, and yeah, I'll probably miss some pretty bad hockey. So you guys will have fun
That's true.
handling that.
That's true. Going to be a
Um,
lot of moving parts on those days, I'm guessing.
yeah, exactly. Um, let's go through lineup study. Let's talk about what happened last night in the $10. Got it pulled up. A user I don't recognize. I'm sure some of you guys probably recognize this guy. Maybe he doesn't. Multi-enter always IBYCFOTA. I don't know if that's an acronym for something or what. 150 lineups, cash 33. Took down the 10K top prize, profited a little over 9K. And the top lineup we will pull up in just a second here. It was Hayes, Konechny, so two-man, Philadelphia 2, McKinnon, Nemesnikov, and Landeskog. And then Ricard Raquel one off. Well, actually, Matt Irwin was the two-man. Irwin for 2,600 put up 18.8 points. And
Dude,
then,
guy's been popping in our projections of late.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's the block shot rate has been very good. So I'm not sure what's going on with him, but yeah, I've looked into him a couple times, and the projection is really high on him. He projects as good value. I mean, not a good raw point guy, but yeah, if you use the projections, you might have got some of him last night if you didn't X him out, which I wouldn't blame you if you were doing the last few days, anyways. And then Edler came through 16.6 DK points. He was 6% owned. We were projecting much lower, but I think people were scared off with Hughes. So just something to think about when there is a power play guy that might be out that's expensive. People might just pivot elsewhere. So people weren't on Hughes. It appears I think he was under 2% in the $10, which is kind of crazy because he was still on the top power play. A
Yeah.
bunch of
People
familiar.
do,
Go ahead.
people don't like to react to that late news. Like if you're, it's the one advantage that West Coasters have, I think, over the East Coasters. By the time it reaches 10:30, a lot of people have given up.
Oh, for sure. I mean, people are giving up on their lineups, and I always notice it feels like if you don't have the first few goals that are scored, like you're dead, and people might think that. But if you're multi-entering, you get to those 10 p.m. Eastern games or even the 9 p.m. Eastern games, you feel like you're dead, and that's not always the case. You might have lineups that haven't even started yet that have the full player minutes remaining. So, try to stay positive till the end of the slate and make the swaps that you need to. And Quinn Hughes ended up playing, so it was a spot where if the power play went off, he was probably going to be, or at least he had a decent chance of being in the winning lineup on a pretty short slate. So uh, last night I cashed 48 out of my 150. Did not profit though. Right next to our friend Brick, finished one spot ahead of him. It appears Brick cashed 57 out of 150 and did not profit in the $10. It's a really tough tournament if you're not up in the top 5 or 10 spots. Slim Cliffy had just one entry and finished in the top 20. He had Kevin Hayes one off that did the trick for 24 points. McKinnon, Landeskog, Nemesnikov, Sam Girard, JT Compher. Looks like Colorado 1 plus Compher, and then you got 4 out of the 5 guys in the top power play: Hall, Ekman Larson, and Darcy Kemper. So really good lineup there. One lineup warrior for Slim Cliffy. Hopefully he had that in some tournaments elsewhere. I think he probably did pretty well across the board in the 3-max stuff. So great lineup there. Let's talk about free stuff for today. I believe the projections are free today. They're up on the site. I'll link these right in chat. And then if you guys please could give us a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, review, tell us something you like about one of the shows, whether it's our show or another show or just Awesemo in general, and you got a chance to win a free Awesemo Plus monthly pass. So the reviews have been coming in. They're very helpful as we try to kind of grow our podcast brand. So help us out with that. If you want more details or if you want to see this on your own screen, I will also link this in chat. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is the presenting sponsor of the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. Yahoo is one of the most trusted names in fantasy sports, and today they're rolling out a pretty cool contest. So if you like these 10 max and 3 max tournaments, maybe you want to do a 25 max tonight. No management fee in this 25-cent tournament for NHL. $500 guaranteed. You can put in, again, up to 25 entries at 25 cents a piece. And let's see, I don't even know what that is. $6? Yeah, $6, $6.25 to max out this tournament. Chance to win $100 as the top prize. I saw some people talking about that. So good on Yahoo. NHL is a pretty good 20 max and MME sport, so I'm glad they're at least dabbling in that. It looks like it's about half filled, so maybe some additional overlay if not everyone makes their way over there. Check out their NBA contests as well, and use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points when you do sign up over on Yahoo. Should we talk about tonight's games?
Let's go.
All right, let's start with
I'm ready.
The other night's nut play: Pittsburgh and then Buffalo Sabres. 3.4 implied total for the Pens, 2.6 for the Sabres. Matt Murray and Jonas Johansson. Not a super exciting game, but is there anything we need to be aware of going into this one?
Yeah, so on the Pittsburgh side of things, Nick Bukestad is going to be a game-time call. I think people are mostly expecting him to play tonight, so just double-check that in line rushes beforehand. And then I think the Sabres have like some new combinations. They did shuffle things up a little bit last game. Simmons was up with Eichel and Olofsson, I think, for a bit. So just watch those line rushes again. But it's Johansson between VC and Cahoon, Lazar between Simmons and Skinner. I think that's it. Some pretty decently priced Buffalo defensemen as well today. I can't say I've seen Rasmus Dahlin's price dip that low in a while.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised about that. $3,900 playing on top pairing. Buffalo goes with 7 defensemen oftentimes, so their prices tend to jump around, especially on DraftKings with the dynamic pricing. In this game, though, I don't see much I really like. I know Pittsburgh, maybe they're going to start. It's going to be the start of something as they try to get into the playoffs there in a pretty competitive Eastern Conference. Got a big win the other night in Ottawa, a game they should have won. They should win this one too. But Buffalo just does a pretty good job of slowing down the pace. And then with how much the Crosby line struggled at 5-on-5, and then you've got Marleau on the second line for Pittsburgh, there's not really anything I catch myself wanting to play a ton of. So you can always make a case for the Pitt power play. It seems like they're priced okay for Crosby, Zucker, Malkin, Rust, and then Schultz apparently on the top power play. If Letang can't go, maybe that makes it even more affordable. But I think it would be probably Pitt power play or nothing. And right now it's leaning more towards nothing for me. What do you see here? Anything?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards nothing as well. I'm just looking at my this line didn't really stand out to me, and my most recent crunch, I think I got 0 line combos from either side, and 0 players from either side, and just like a straight crunch. So a little bit of Patrick Hornqvist, but I'm right there with you. The total is decent though for Pittsburgh, so I can understand wanting to get there, but I agree with your point. Like Buffalo just seems to slow things down, so I just can't. And they're on the road. Like I don't know, just doesn't seem all that appealing to me either.
Yeah, I mean the ownership's not going to be out of hand. So if you think Pittsburgh
Yeah,
is going to start some sort of hot streak right now, like they are the better team. They should score. They're projected for a good amount of goals, like you said. But as far
we
as me,
have top stacks wise though. Like they're not getting that much.
yeah,
It's not all that much of a deal. So
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, as far as matchups go, I think it's probably going to be Eichel against the Crosby line for the most part. Eichel line pretty unappealing at 5-on-5, but they probably do get a pretty good matchup against the Crosby line. So if you want to go on the Buffalo side, it would be the top line, and maybe they get hot on the power play or something like we saw earlier in the season. But I'm still under the field right now on Buffalo 1, and I'm pretty comfortable with it. This is not nearly my favorite game. Anything else?
You gonna have like? Do you like either of these like $3,900
Darlene.
Darlene or Ristolainen on DK?
You could.
Power play one.
I would rather go with Darlene at 3,900, but I probably wouldn't look to one off either one of them if I can avoid it.
26 minutes last game, 23 the minute time before that. Seems like an underpricing to me. I know it's not all that appealing because dude doesn't do much and it's usually assists when he does, but I will have some tonight.
All right. Let's go to Montreal and Tampa Bay. 2.8 implied total for the Canadiens. 3.7 for the Lightning. Could be Carey Price. Could be Andrei Vasilevsky. We're not sure yet, but we should know prior to lock who is in net for each team. What do we got here? One important game time decision, it appears.
Yeah, it looks like Brendan Gallagher. I'll check for an update as you go over the game here, but it looks like he's gonna be a game time decision. Of course, Thomas Tatar is out back in Montreal, so that leaves Danault. I don't know what this line would look like with if Gallagher's out, but it's not overly appealing. Backing up on the top line with Danault and Gallagher, and then Suzuki, Armia, Hudon. Oh, actually, I think Vots had the right line combos as they skated this morning in our post without, so the live blog without him, it was Alzner. Who is that? What Alzner is that?
Carl. He's a defenseman.
Like the defenseman?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. He was a placeholder.
So. Placeholder, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, and then Suzuki between Armia and Hudon, and then Domi, Wheel, Byron. Yeah, nothing too appealing here from the Montreal side. I think if Gallagher's out, I'm going to probably stack up a little bit more Tampa than I normally would.
Yeah, I agree. Not a ton to like for Montreal, other than if Gallagher goes, you're going to get the top line at pretty low ownership, I would think. And it's Gallagher and Danault. They've been really awesome together. I'm not sure exactly how Tatar is going to affect them not being on that line. But Lekkonen's up there. He grades out as a pretty good value for us, so it would probably be Montreal 1. But I think they're going to get a pretty tough matchup against the Cirelli line, Cirelli, Coleman, and Killorn. Still kind of a higher implied total than I would think for Montreal here.
Yeah. And it went – did it go – no, it went – it's been going down, though. It's down to 2.5 live.
Okay. So maybe I should update this after the show. But, yeah, I looked earlier, and I was like, interesting. I mean, Tampa has a pretty good defense, unless they thought maybe Vasilevsky wasn't going to start. But I did see it was an optional skate for Tampa, and McElhinney was skating, so that usually means that the other goalie is going to end up starting. So – I mean, Tampa power play, Tampa 1, I think are both really good plays here. One of the highest totals on the slate, and you know what you're getting out of Point and Kucherov. They're a little bit expensive. It's always a question for me of what you're going to do with Andre Palat, but if you wanted to spend up $500 more or $700 less and go to Cirelli and Tyler Johnson and just try to stack up this top PP with Sergachev, that would be a pretty intriguing idea and maybe a way to differentiate off the people that play Andre Palat. What are your thoughts on Tampa here as a team?
Yeah, or even just going with like Point and Kucherov and then like just Sergachev as well, like a three-man stack. Although this is a pretty big slate, so you might want more than that. But yeah, Sergachev, I don't know, 5,100. I like that idea. I mean, certainly be creative on a night like tonight, but
yeah. I mean, getting that top power play and looking like it's going to be he's the only one there. I think a well-warranted price, like not a guy that's going to put a ton of shots and blocks on the table most nights, but big total and a reasonable price quarterbacking that top unit for a spot that looks pretty good for for Point and Kucherov. If they go up against the Gallagher-less Danault line, I think they're looking like Tampa's just looking like a really good team, and I think you can go to this second line too. So I'm pretty much all Tampa. I was getting to some Montreal, but I'm probably going to end up taking a lot of that out. Even if Gallagher plays, there would be a very secondary play for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then Petrie at 4,800 is the guy that I'm playing a little bit of. We already talked about Sergachev. Do you like any of these cheaper guys? Ben Sherratt, Eric Chernak, anything like that?
Our boy, Brent Kulak.
Yeah, man, 2,900 bucks. Is he projecting well for us? I didn't notice.
Yeah,
him. He always
these
does.
guys. I don't know. 3, 3, 2, 3, 6, 1, 4 are his recent shot totals. So for 2,900, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
But going to be limiting my exposure there. Shea Weber as well, getting to a fair amount, which kind of surprised me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Weber just a guy that one of the few guys that is a multi-point threat most nights. So
price is down, can get you a goal out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Not on the power play one though. So two guys. Hedman, I think, not playable at all, unless you disagree.
Really tough. No, that's really tough to play
6,700, no power play one quarterback.
Yep, I agree there. All right, let's go to Boston and Florida. 3.2 implied total for the Bruins, 2.7 for the Panthers, Yaroslav Halak, and then Chris Driedger / Sergei Bobrovsky. I'm not sure what the Panthers are doing here, but what are they doing with their lines?
I think, I don't think either team skated this morning, so we might have to...
I think Boston did, but it was normal.
Did they?
I want to say they did, yeah.
Sounds good. And then Florida switched things up yesterday. Holla, Hoffman, Vetrano, Walmart, between Connolly, and Toninato. I'm going to get that right before the year is out. Okay. Like a young Don Cherry. Can't get to this Hoffman-Vetrano line at all. Just way too pricey. Yeah. Boston won, shaping up as a pretty good leverage play today.
Yeah, I like Boston 1, and I'm starting to like Boston 2 a little bit as well. Don't think that either of these Florida 2 and 3 are going to be very good defensively. The Kasha, Krejci, Ritchie trio was very good in their first game. Now it's just a one-game sample size, but they're also dirt cheap, and it looks like they're not getting a ton of ownership. So I'm definitely taking some shots there on Boston 2. I didn't think I was going to get to a bunch of Boston 1, but I actually did get to more than I usually do on big slates. I'm not quite where we're at in terms of the ownership projections, but they're just like a top stack tool dream because they've always got a good chance of being the top stack, and on a big slate, they usually, you can only get so much ownership. They're usually one of the top price lines, and people like to go to the more value spots. So I'm definitely more willing to play Boston 1 than I am maybe like a couple nights ago or the last few times they've been on the slate. Yeah, I like them here. I think they're going to get the matchup against the Barkov, Huberdeau, Dadonov line, a line that is about average defensively, and it's Boston 1. So I'll take an average matchup all day, especially when their ownership looks like it's going to be at under 10%, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you like Florida 1 at all on the other side? Dadonov, Barkov, Huberdeau, top power play correlation. I feel like they've had some big performances against Boston for whatever reason.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
I know they came back.
Wasn't it on the road too?
Yeah, I think they came back down 4-0 earlier.
And you were like, I think we both were like, nope, not touching Florida 1 tonight.
Yeah.
One of the third best leverage play we have as a line on the slate.
Really?
Pretty cheap as well, like relative to the other top lines. So I kind of like it for tournaments.
I mean, I'm an MME player, so I play a lot of lines, but
you're not going to get there?
I got to 0 right now. I think I should have more than 0. I think I should have more than 0 Florida 1. Dadonov being priced way down like that makes it a little bit more appealing to play. And if they're just going to get like essentially no ownership, they are one of the better lines, I think, on this slate, just like in a vacuum. So they're all in the top power play. I mean, you can see a scenario where they perform pretty well, but yeah, I got to 0 so far.
Keith Yandel correlate with the cheap Montembeau.
I think you're losing me. Is it going to be Montembeau or Bobrovsky or Driedger? Do we have any
think we know. Bobrovsky's day-to-day, maybe.
Okay.
Am I losing you with the
with Yandel. Yeah, I think you're losing
Yeah.
me there.
What? Come on.
What about
Dude's an assist machine.
I talked about the top two Boston lines, and I saw some chatter about Charlie Coyle at 3,400. I actually like that a lot if you're going with like Bergeron, Pasternak, and you can't get up to Marchand, going with Coyle instead of him, because you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna leave off. You're probably not gonna leave off Pasternak, so you're probably leaving off Bergeron or Marchand. So adding in Coyle to get the top power play correlation with two of the three Boston One members, I think, is a pretty nice way to go and saving a bunch of salary.
Sure. I like it.
All right, let's. Man, I don't think there's anything left here. A little undecided about what I want to do with Florida. I wasn't really thinking about them, but you point out that that top stack tool, if that's pointing to something I should play, I always like to give it a second look. So I'll look at that after the show and see if I can find anything I actually like or see if I can fit them in. But right now I haven't been able to get there with Florida One. Let's go to the Caps and the Rangers. 3.4 implied total for the Capitals. 3.1 for the Rangers. Ilya Samsonov and Alexander Georgiev for the Rangers. Do we see anything new here?
So Washington played last night, didn't skate, but Kovalchuk was up on that top line for a little bit last night. So probably, I guess they go back to their normal lines. You never know. They're one of those teams that never changes things
Right.
makes a change once every 3 months. So and then I think everything's the same for the Rangers.
I'll also say, like, I was watching basically all that game, and Tom Wilson was in the penalty box twice for fighting, and so that could be a reason why the lines were all swapped. Yeah, so it was Kuznetsov with Ovi and Kovalchuk. So it's
I just saw Tom Gugliotti or whatever tweeted out. So
yeah, I mean it could be they could start that way, but we'll know. So definitely something to take note of. And we've seen Backstrom and Ovechkin and Kuznetsov kind of swap places at times this season. So a bad loss at home. Maybe this is a night where they do look to switch up lines. Washington's definitely going to be a team I'm going to look at because I don't plan on actually playing a ton of Washington tonight, but you could play, if they do swap the combos and maybe you get a little bit, you're not being killed by the field if one of these new lines goes off. So even on teams that I'm not planning on playing a lot, if there are any late swaps and I think I can get a unique combination that maybe 1% or 0.5% of the field has, even if I don't love the spot, I'm usually willing to swap on to a little bit of that, or at least recrunch and make those adjustments like that. So more kind of a general point, but the Strome line's been pretty good offensively and not too bad defensively. No Kreider definitely hurts the top line for the Rangers, but DiGiuseppe is 2,500. So I'm actually getting to some Rangers 1. Definitely going to play Rangers 2. I like the Rangers here quite a bit. Whoever gets to go up against the Kuznetsov, Ovi, Wilson line, I think is usually in a really good spot, and it's advantage at Buchnevich. So I like those two guys, and I definitely am interested in Rangers' top power play stack here with Tony D. 4,800, but
Wow.
I think he played 22 minutes in the last game, and he was technically on the third pairing, so I think he's going to be around 20 minutes most games. So 4,800 isn't that bad of a price when they've got a good spot against a team that takes a bunch of penalties.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Rangers are going to be somewhat contrarian tonight, so why not go with them? I kind of like that call here. I'm pretty heavy. I think I'm going to be pretty heavy on Washington 1 and some Washington power play stacks as well.
Yeah, I mean I'm definitely going to be looking at the Washington power play stack. I just feel like I'm always lower. There's a couple teams where I'm like always lower than the field on, and like it's Chicago usually, it's Washington, it's Pittsburgh. So maybe I just misread these teams a lot. But it is still a high total.
No, it's fair. Like Washington's reeling a little bit, right? Coming off a loss, I think they're like 4-5-1 in their last 10. So like it makes sense. Like you don't have that full power play correlation, unfortunately. But I don't know. It's a pretty good bounce back spot from a pretty good team against what's been the worst PK unit in the NHL since January. So
no, you make a good point about the power play unit the PK unit for the Rangers, and they take a bunch of penalties too. So certainly could be an Ovi night. Maybe you want to if you're not comfortable with this top line, Kuznetsov, Wilson, and Ovechkin just hasn't been great for whatever reason at 5-on-5 or even good at generating chances. So maybe you go something like Backstrom, Verana, and Ovi, or Backstrom, Oshie, and Ovi, or something like that. If you don't want to do like a full 4 or 5-man power play stack with Karlsson. 7,200 for Karlsson. I would definitely be looking to include him in power play stacks, of course. As a one-off guy tonight, I have some other guys ranked ahead of him just personally, so probably not going to get to a ton of $7,200 John Karlsson. He slowed down a bit, so I think you've been more right lately on Karlsson. His regression has come, but
it's finally happened. It only took like 4 months of being wrong.
I think he's still a point per game player though, so I don't know.
No, he's been like over his last 10, he's been like a half point a game.
Okay. But no, I mean for the season, he's just.
Oh yeah, it's been still
having a phenomenal
amazing.
Season, but, anything else we need to talk about in this game? Any Adam Fox or Trouba?
Washington 2. What are their numbers like with Backstrom in place of Kuznetsov?
They're much better. Let me pull these up. They are well above average in
3.24 goals per 60.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good. So that's why I kind of like going with Backstrom, one of Verana, Oshie, and then Ovechkin. And if you could somehow jam Karlsson and like go for it. But I think I'm more likely to full stack the second Washington line than the top line.
Backstrom, man, I'm not seeing it here.
I've got Verana, Backstrom, Oshie at over 3 expected goals for per 60.
All right, that's acceptable. Could be a nice way to pivot off that OV line.
Yep. Let's go to Carolina and Philadelphia. 2.9 implied total for the Hurricanes. 3.1 for the Flyers. Alex N going for the Hurricanes. It appears Carter Hart. That's an easy one to pronounce. Going for the Flyers. Flyers coming off a massive win last night. Wouldn't expect them to change up anything, but it appears we've got some new lines for Carolina.
Yeah, JVR out, though, for the Flyers. Left last game in like the first period with a broken hand. Otherwise, I think that Grant Pitlick JVR line would have been the nuts. But Farabee probably taking over his spot on the third line. Flyers, man. Well, I think it's Money Puck that had Flyers as their number one Stanley Cup bet in terms of expected goals for, expected goals against. You can kind of see why maybe like a kind of Couturier-Hayes combo, kind of like a little St. Louis bluesy sort of feel with this team, like doesn't hit you in the head with their talent, but a lot of depth and a lot of solid defense. And then on the Carolina side of things, new second line, it's Stahl between Williams and Zingle. Fogle goes down to the fourth line, and Niederreiter is out. Oh, Niederreiter's up on the top line. I totally missed that.
Niederreiter with Aho and Teravainen. I thought their numbers were a little bit better. We've got about almost 300-minute sample size with them, and they're solid offensively. They're about average defensively. I thought they were really good, both offensively and defensively. So I'm just remembering maybe that combination a little bit off. I think they're going to see Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek. That seems like the most logical matchup of the night. And I remember talking about the Couturier, Giroux, Voracek line and how rough they were starting out their first few games together. Maybe they were just they just needed to feel each other out, or I don't know what was going on, but the numbers weren't good. And as the sample's gotten bigger, they're back to being absolutely elite defensively. So probably hard matching the Aho line here. I don't think it's the night where I'm firing up top line Nino Niederreiter and Aho and Teravainen. I'm probably going to take a pass on that. I think it's a really tough matchup, even on the back-to-back for Philadelphia. I'm more looking at the Philadelphia side here with the Couturier line. I think you can go there. And then people are mentioning Philadelphia 2 in the YouTube chat. Last night's darling. Hayes Konechny and Lawton, they looked pretty good. The only problem with them is I think they're probably going to get the Stahl line and the Trocheck line, which probably won't be too bad defensively. So that's the only caveat I have. Philadelphia, if I had to choose one of these teams, and probably Philadelphia 1. What about you? Philadelphia 2, 3, any of these?
Yeah, probably Philly 1. I mean,
sure.
Also, taking Konechny and putting him in some kind of combo with the other Philly lines, like with Couturier and Giroux or Couturier and Voracek, I think isn't a bad one. They just seem to just seems to score a lot, and he's on that power play 1. So maybe just noticed that a lot lately, but maybe that's just
Carolina,
bias.
he's on the top power play too, and Carolina's
Yeah,
second in time shorthanded this season. So I like the call
there
there.
you go. And Carolina kind of like the Trocheck line, but
Dude,
yeah,
Philly's
just as
tough. Philly's tough.
I know.
Like
I like the Trocheck line, maybe not in this matchup.
right, and so
Wait for another day.
yeah, I mean we both love Carolina as much as the next guys, but
Although back to backs, big road win against a major rival last night for Philly.
maybe a letdown.
Could see an upset here.
Sure.
Just throwing it out there.
I mean, it's obviously not crazy if Carolina were to win this game, but I just think from a matchups perspective, like targeting a ceiling performance here from any of these Carolina lines is difficult for me to imagine. So, I'll probably pass on most of the Carolina side, especially the top line, and then looking
Is
at
that
the
the first
defenseman.
time you've ever said that in your life?
I know it's weird, right? But you just look at how good these numbers are for Philadelphia 1, and it's really daunting. It's a really daunting task here for Carolina 1 to be the nuts, I think. Anything else left in this game? Philippe Myers, Provorov, any one-off defenseman you're targeting, or in power play stacks? Probably Provorov, right?
Yeah, probably Provorov. Had a goal last night. Was pretty darn good. I don't know. Seems to be a pretty good value right now. 26 minutes, 27 minutes, something like that every time, full power play. So I think like a stack with Philly 1 it's a pretty good idea, but also not a bad one-off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd more be looking to stack him just because he's not like you're going to need an assist, maybe a multi-point game.
What about our boy Slavin? Sorry,
dude, I'm kind of cooled down on Slavin. Like it was fun at first when he was 4K
he's
playing.
Spitting fire.
He is. I just in
double
the spot,
combo meal king.
he's been better than what I thought. Now looking at his stuff, and he's playing a lot more minutes, but it's just a tough matchup. And as a one-off guy, like I think there's probably some quality options in this range.
Good point.
Let's go to one of my favorite games of the night here.
Oh.
The Islanders and the Ottawa Senators. 3.1 implied total for the Isles, 2.5 for the Sens. Yes, I'm targeting the 5.5 total game, 5.6 total game, depending on where you look. Varlamov and Craig Anderson expected to go for the Sens. Do we see any new lines here?
Yeah, new lines for the Islanders. Nelson between Broussard and Dalcol. Pajot between Bailey and Beauvillier. Looks pretty much the same. And then, of course, Ottawa is just shuffling every day now, so you never know what you're going to get there. Tierney between Brown and Kachuk. Balsers, White Ryan, Paul, Howley Ruck, Duclair, Pekka Severin, Bodker.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like both sides of this game. I like both goalies. I just expect this to be like I expect there to be a lot of chances to go around on both sides. So I think a lot of my lineups will have something from this game, whether it's a goalie. There's cheap stacks. Well, there's definitely cheap stacks on the Ottawa side. So if they do score a bunch here, if they score 3, 4, or 5 goals, I think it's very likely that one of these teams could end up on the winning lineup. I kind of like the combo of Tierney, Brown, and Kachuk together. I think they're going to see a lot of the Barzal, Lee, Eberle line, and that's good for both sides. So I'm just hammering both sides of both top lines here, and then I'm still playing some of this White, Bobby Ryan, and Balsers line for Ottawa. Plus, you can just power play stack Ottawa as well if you wanted to go like White, Ryan, and Kachuk, or White, Brown, Kachuk, something like that. Like when the top 6 is loaded with top power play guys, and you've got a clear power play quarterback in Shabbat that's going to play 20, 25 minutes most nights at a reasonable price. I get the total's low, but I'm all just about like concentrated scoring and looking into the matchups, and I don't really see much that I dislike here outside of the total, which looks like it's gonna scare some people off. But I will not be scared off here. So what do you think about that? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was just gonna kind of let ownership dictate this one because
Ownership's low. So
yeah, I mean it's not bad, especially for Barzell, Lee, and Eberle. The price is like not cheap, but it's not super expensive. So like I get going there. I also kind of like the Al's third line in terms of talent. feel like that's got some talent. But I'm wondering. I haven't checked this yet, but I'm wondering if like Islanders 3 is one of those lines that's just going to get all of the defensive zone deployment now that
Could be.
that fourth line hasn't really been together with I believe both. Let me just double check this, but I believe that two of their normal three guys. So it's Koivula between Clutterbuck and Martin, but Cizikas, that line usually takes up just soaks up a lot of the defensive zone starts. So if that line's not being deployed defensively, I kind of like Islanders 3 too.
I think that's a fine call. Looks like a pretty complete line with Peugeot, Beauvillier, and Bailey.
Yeah.
Cheap. It is listed as a third line, and that's going to scare some people off. But
Brassard revenge game.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, if you'd like to do that, but that's not really a line I'm targeting in this game. It's Ottawa 1, Ottawa 2, Ottawa PP plus Islanders 1. I love. On the other side, just one of the best lines in terms of generating chances game after game after game and fully correlated. And the middling total is going to keep their ownership at a pretty reasonable level, it appears. So, yeah, I like this game kind of from all different angles. And then Shabbat, Riley are both pretty heavy targets of mine. Well, not pretty heavy targets of mine. Shabbat's definitely a heavy target. Riley's more of a throw-in. Or if you're stacking, if you just can't get up to Shabbat. And you want a 4-man, and then Pulak, playing some Pulak for the first time in a while at 5,400. Devin Tays at 4,200 probably wouldn't include him in too many non-Islanders 1 lineups.
Yeah, 4,200, man. That's something right there.
I know. He's not the most exciting DFS play, but he is a guy that does have a pretty decent role, and if you like the skaters on the top power play, it's hard to avoid some of these guys, I think, if you're looking to 4-man stack. Let's go to the Stars and the Predators. 2.6 implied total for the Stars, 2.8 for the Preds. We have Anton Khudobin confirmed against probably UC Saros for the Preds. Nashville has switched their lines up a million times recently. It looks like we've got some new stuff again. Who knows what's their first line, what's their fourth line? They're all interchangeable. Dallas, similar. Like, they've got weird lines going on too. So I'm sure this game will go completely nuts. But what do you see here?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe target the Dallas side of things. I don't know. Yeah, new lines for the Preds: Johansson, Yarncroc, Sijens, Duchesne, Grayland, Forsberg. Thankfully, the Bonino, Smith, Grimaldi line stays together. I don't know what we'd do without that. Preds just keep on losing, and these lines are just such garbage. I gotta figure that that's a reason why. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't think anything's changed on the Dallas side though.
Yeah, we've seen these lines for a number of games. They've still got Pavelski and Radulov listed on the fourth line. I mean, the Fax line's probably the fourth line, but Dickinson, Hintz, and Gurionov isn't really a fourth line, so who knows kind of the pecking order outside of Sagan and Ben. It seems like that's the clearest path to scoring here for the Stars side, but it is a 2.6 total. I'm not against playing teams with low totals. I just talked about playing a bunch of Ottawa. And Nashville, they couldn't stay out of the box last game. They've been committing more penalties, and they just cannot kill them off for the life of them. So getting Sagan, Ben, you can add in Perry or just go with Sagan, Ben, Perry, Klingberg, or just Sagan and Ben together. You got a couple guys in the fourth line that you can mix in as well. Some sort of Dallas 1 or Dallas power play stack is kind of the only thing that I'm looking to target here on the Stars side. If you wanted to go to one of our favorite lines, Bonino, Grimaldi, and Craig Smith, I think that's not too bad of an option. Really good price for them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Just looking at some power play numbers here, it looks like Nashville's between bottom 5 and bottom 10 in pretty much every PK killing statistic over the past 2 months. So probably not a bad idea to target the Dallas power play as well. You get some access to some pretty cheap players, including Pavelski and Radulov and Klingberg. I think I went with that stack a couple nights ago on a shorter slate, and I think going back to it tonight probably isn't a bad option as well. Certainly going to get a few shares of it in.
Yep. I mean, it's like clockwork targeting against this Nashville power play, or this Nashville penalty kill. Yossi on the other side, it's 7,100. Right now I have more than the field on Yossi, but I think Burns is the better play overall tonight, and I don't pay too much attention to ownership for some of these top tier defensemen. Like, I know they're popular, but they're popular for a reason. They're guys that have both high floors and high ceilings. Yossi's in that class. The chat has stopped trolling me recently as Yossi's had a few good games in a row.
Oh, yeah.
But
amazing how that
I'm
works.
sure if he gets a 0 here, I won't hear the end of it. But I'm not going all in on Yossi tonight.
4 straight games, about 15 points.
Yeah. He hasn't had like a massive Yossi game where he gets you 30 plus or anything like that, but he's been solid, and that's what you're looking for at 7,100 here. Going to play a ton of minutes, going to play power play. Yeah, it's just I like playing these top tier defensemen. Anything else?
No.
All right. A few more games here. If you guys could drop a like, that would be very helpful. Helps us keep the lights on here, as Chris Spag says at Awesemo.com. Oilers, Blackhawks, 3.2 implied total for the Oilers, 3.3 for the Hawks. Smith and Crawford are your goalies. What are we doing here? What do we see new here?
I think everything's the same for the Blackhawks, right? Or is that new? Nylander, Stromkane, Doc, Kajula, DeBrincat. Those are new, right?
They were how they started last game. I crunched with the wrong lines the other night when they went off. So. And
then Edmonton looks like James Neal is up. I didn't confirm that. It's just on the daily faceoff. Neal up with McDavid and Ennis. Archibald back down to the third line, so you don't even need to sweat Archibald costing you all the money tonight.
Archibald,
thing, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Josh Archibald.
They moved down the stud Archibald.
And it looks like this Chicago 3 is going a little bit over owned today. Or Chicago 2, I should say.
Yeah. Strome, Nylander, Kane. So they're coming off a big performance. They're cheap. They're popular. There's always a reason to play Kane. I kind of like Chicago 1 here. I think they're going to see the most time against McDavid and Neal, and Ennis probably won't be a very strong line defensively.
Crazy that's like the contrarian play to get access to that offense, right? But I think you're right. Like, and though this line of the lines, I think we said last show that of the Kubelik lines that are like all the best lines from the Chicago, this is the worst one, but it's still pretty good. So
they're very good. So I like them. If you wanted to leave off Saad and you can get up to Kane and do a Blackhawks power play stack, by all means, figure that out if you can. I will try to mix some of that in as well. And then on the Oilers side, in terms of full stacks, it is the Draisaitl line for me. Once again, this line's just been red hot, playing amazing at 5-on-5 with McDavid back. Yamamoto obviously moves down to the second unit. But you got Nurse there for 5,500, move back up onto the top unit. He's going to play a ton of minutes. And you've got a clear top-tier defenseman on both sides. Well, I should say top-tier. A clear top power play defenseman on both sides in Keith. And then I like Nurse even better for 5,500. So I like this game. There's just going to be a lot of ownership on it. So I'm sure some people will just go all in.
It's not getting owned, though.
Which side? Chicago 2.
The Edmonton 2.
Oh, okay. Edmonton 2?
No owner, 5%.
That's pretty low. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that was the line that I was gravitating towards anyways. Probably going to see some of Chicago 2 and 3, and that's not too bad of a matchup for a line that... Also, sorry to interrupt, Mike Smith is super cheap as well if you want to, like for GPPs, pairing him up with an Edmonton 2 stack and getting... some reverse exposure to Chicago going over owned. Yeah. I like that as well.
Save bonus candidate, maybe?
Definitely. Smith's one of my higher exposed goalies right now, so I like it. I like to correlate, and a lot of my Edmonton teams will have Smith and net there and hoping for the 4-2 or 5-2 win and maybe get you that 35 save bonus if things go his way. Anything else left in this game? Do we like any other defensemen or deep plays here? Ethan Bear, we kind of done with him?
Yeah, if he's not on the power play 1, I think I'm done with him.
I think I am probably done with him as well. And I think that's it here. Chris Russell, game time decision. I think, did you mention that?
I did not.
It doesn't really matter for DFS.
It does not.
So just notice that. Let's go to the Leafs and the Kings. 3.5 implied total for Toronto, 2.8 for the Kings. Freddie Anderson and Jonathan Quick are your goalies, at least expected to be your goalies. It's a late game. We will alert the channel if we see anything in terms of weird goalies that take the ice during warmups. What's new here?
So Jeff Carter, game time decision. LA mixed up their middle six a little bit. Velarde's on a new line there. Mikheyev returns for the Toronto Maple Leafs on the... Oh, is he back on... I think Daily Faceoff just switched up their lines again.
I think they did.
It was Mikheyev earlier, but it might have been as well, since it's late. They might have just been skating. So take it away while I fix this. While I fix the live blog.
Yeah, sure. So the Matthews line was the one that caught my eye. It's a good spot for Toronto. Like, the implied total says it all here. I don't think there's anything in terms of the matchup that I'm extremely worried about. Kopitar line, you'd like to avoid them, but with a line that generates as many quality chances as Matthews, Marner, Hyman, I mean, I'll just make an exception anytime. And then you've got another really good line in the Tavares, Nylander, Kerfoot trio. So I guess I like both Toronto top lines. I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They're both getting some ownership. I think Toronto 1 looks pretty favorable, though, in terms of their ownership compared to their ownership share. So I'm glad to see that. I'm right there with it. I think this might be the one spot, or one of the spots where Toronto's one of the chalkier lines, and I have maybe more than the field on Toronto 1. It is a very good power play spot if they can get a few opportunities here against LA. And then, on the other side, the Kings' second line, I don't think we have much of a sample with Lizotte, Kempe, and Marty Ferk, but that's a line that, Lizotte and Kempe have been very good together this season, no matter who they've played with. And, Ferk can score. He's 4,500. I don't think this is going to be somewhere where people go often, but if you are looking to get to a Boston 1 or one of these expensive lines that we talked about earlier, or even game stack with Toronto, I think that line could be pretty exciting. So LA2 is one of my, I shouldn't say one of my favorite secondary stacks, because I don't think I'm going to have double digits of them. I prefer the Ottawa side, or I prefer Ottawa if I can get to some cheaper stacks, but I do like LA2 a little bit here. Just the idea of them gets me a little bit excited.
All right, I can find nothing that says Mikheyev is off there, so I don't think the Leafs skated this morning. Keefe had a press conference. Those lines are from yesterday, so
I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah, but on the second for the Tavares line, maybe.
Oh, he would be on the Tavares line.
Yeah, Mikheyev was up on the Tavares line yesterday.
Okay, that could be an issue. What's his price?
But he's not anymore. I don't know if he's showing up there or what.
I don't have him on the screen, so let's see here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can always figure this out after the show.
Yeah, exactly. I like that call on LA2. I think that's a good call. I think looks like the Matthews line as well is popping in our projections, which makes a lot of sense. Still getting a lot of ice time, some power play correlation. They are hot AF right now. So 4-man stacks, Freddie Anderson in net, I think as well is not a bad option. LA1 getting a lot of ice time and correlated ice time together. Kind of one of those, been kind of a sneaky under-owned stack for a little while now. And I think people are maybe off the price points of Ifalo and Brown. So a few different ways to go in this game. And also of the top stacks tool, LA1 has is the cheapest line, one of only 2 lines under 17K on DK with decent amount of leverage on the field. So
yeah, I like it. I think we're kind of on the same page here.
Yeah.
Defenseman on the King side is kind of a mess for me. I don't think I'm going to be paying $5,700 for Doughty in too many spots, and then Tyson Barrie at $5,900. a little expensive, but if you are looking to jam in the power play here for the Leafs, which might not be a bad idea, that would obviously be a guy you're looking to include. There's something else I thought I had to mention here, but I think we can move it on. Actually, that's probably enough.
Move it on.
Let's go to the last game of the night. Minnesota Wild and the San Jose Sharks. 3.1 implied total for the Wild, 2.9 for the Sharks. Alex Stalock and Marty Jones are your goalies. Anything new here?
No skate for the San Jose Sharks tonight, so we won't really know what's going on. I kind of expect those lines to remain the same. And then on the Minnesota Wild side, Eric Stahl looks like he is out tonight. He will be replaced by Gerald Mayhew in the lineup, so kind of weakens the Minnesota side of things in that top line. Kunnin between Fiala and Greenway. Mayhew is down on the second line with Eriksson, Ek, and Parise, and then the other two are the same.
Did we get confirmation on these Minnesota lines? I just saw that Kunnin was going to slot in to center. So I don't know if this
I can't remember if we do or not.
I didn't see the Wild skating today. At least I didn't see any of the beats tweet out the line. So I think there's some question as far
speculation there.
Yeah, as far as like which lines, like who's going to play with who. It'll probably be Kunnin with Greenway and Fiala, and then Mayhew slots in where Kunnin was on the Eriksson Ek line, like what we have on the screen. But I just, those are subject to change. Not that I really love these lines anyways. Kunnin, Fiala, and Greenway would probably be my favorite.
So, Michael Russo tweeted that Kunnin will move back to center.
Yeah.
And Mayhew will draw back in, right?
Yeah. So, right. I mean, it could be Eriksson Ek that moves up with Greenway and Fiala. I'm not even sure. Or they might just go full blender mode, or who knows with the Wild. Especially in a West Coast game. It's not like I love the spot for them anyways. If you want to go back to Fiala and you can figure out a way to do that, 6,800 for him. He's playing like an insane person right now, like just scoring multiple games all over the place, like doing damage on the power play. Maybe he sees some time against the Thornton, Meyer, LeBanc line. That's the one you want to go up against. I don't think the Sharks are going to really hard match, though, with the Wild not having a clear top line. If Parise and Fiala and Kunnin and all these guys are going to be on different lines, I don't think that Couture will spend too much of his time against one specific line. So I actually like the Sharks side here a little bit. I understand why people don't want to play Thornton. I don't want to really play Thornton either, but that line, like, you can't really argue with the numbers of Thornton, Meyer, and LeBanc. They've been really active offensively. They're getting favorable matchups at home. If you wanted to do something like Couture, Meyer, and LeBanc, or Couture, Kane, and Timo Meyer, or something like that, and leave off Thornton, I would have absolutely no issue with that. I don't think that if the Sharks go off, like if that line goes off, it's not going to probably be with Thornton scoring goals anyways. But I really do like the spot here for the Sharks, especially with the Wild being weaker down the middle with no Stahl. I know he's not a great defensive center, but certainly going to make them weaker.
Yeah, I kind of like that call too. Not like crazy. I'm not gonna have crazy exposure to San Jose, but I also like, some power play stacks here. Maybe just like Couture and Kane, I think, is not a bad option. They're kind of like, it's just been a while since they've had like a big game, and maybe they're sort of flying under the radar a little bit. Not getting a ton of ownership. It's not perceived as a great matchup, but could certainly see like a San Jose breakout game coming at some point, right? Like, that's just narrative, but I don't know. It just feels like it's been a while since we've heard from San Jose, and they're, those top two lines are not terrible.
Yeah, especially with Couture back, that makes a world of difference for them. It's not like they're the deepest team either, so maybe the Wild can continue being a solid defensive team here. They probably will be more often than not, but they do still have issues on the penalty kill. And I'm looking to jam in Burns at 7K. He's going to be my highest owned player tonight. It's almost certain. I like the Sharks tonight, oddly enough. So Sharks, Senators, just give me all the bad teams tonight. You guys can play the good teams, and I'll probably end up crying at the end of the night. Anything else here, or anything on the rest of the slate that we forgot to talk about?
I think we're good. What's your favorite place tonight? Like, what's your favorite pay up option in your favorite down low option?
Favorite spend up option, I would say There's a couple. It's hard for me to kind of narrow it down, but I definitely like Toronto's top line / power play and the Rangers. And then in terms of value, San Jose, some mixture of their top 6, and then Burns, obviously, and then Ottawa. I love Ottawa. And then the mid-tier, Islanders.
So, all right.
I'm heavily invested
I agree
in
with
that
everything
game.
you said. I do like Washington as well.
Edmonton PP, yep.
Washington, Edmonton.
Ton of good spots tonight, and I didn't even mention we didn't mention Boston one. It's crazy. There's no shortage of spots. You should like your lineups tonight. Whether or not they work out is a different deal as always. But I think a ton of good ways to get different. A lot of teams with good top 6s, not necessarily just top line. So power play stacks are certainly in order. I'm going to be upping my exposure to just overall power play stacks with some of these spots we talked about. And not just, hammering 3 threes in all my lineups tonight. So good night to, play the best plays. Keep an eye out for news. We got a couple important game time decisions, namely Brendan Gallagher, which we're going to know prior to lock. So be in Slack, be around your phone, laptop, whatever it is. Over under on 230, taking down the twine might be over. Well, usually what it is if the chalk goes off, there's so many different variations that the scores tend to be a little bit higher. I hope it's a little bit lower than that. I hope the winning lineup isn't all chalk and it's not like 300 points taking it down. But we've seen that happen, or close to that happening.
Hey, I got a quote from Todd Reardon as well for the Capitals. We'll be looking at some different combinations tomorrow and probably Saturday as well for the power plays after going 0 for 5. You have to make adjustments when players aren't at the top of their game. So tread carefully on those Washington Capitals.
Oh, did he say on the power play? Did you say?
Yeah, on the power play.
All right. Well, Ovechkin's going to be on the top power play. Backstrom's going to be on the top power play, and Carlson's going to be on the top.
Maybe
power play.
You know what that means. Actually, if I were to guess, I would say
Eller.
maybe Tom Wilson moves up.
That could be. Yeah, maybe you need that tough-ness on that top power play.
Little net front presence.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's a pretty good call, actually. All right, guys, go check out Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. They're the presenting sponsor of the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. They have a pretty cool tournament tonight, 25 max, 25 cent, no management fee. Looks like a couple of you guys have already gotten into this, so go play this 25 max, a little bit different tournament, and then obviously no management fee. Can't really beat that around the industry these days. They've got NBA contests as well. Promo code Awesemo is how you get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. If you would like to join and use these projections every day, they're free for today. But if you'd like to use them every day, promo code NHL Strategy is how you get up to 50% off your first week of any Awesemo Plus weekly pass. If you got any questions about that, you can go to awesemo.com/join or hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are open. I'll try to answer you, help you out with any packages or any information. If you got it, anything reasonable, I usually answer. And then go make your way over to Apple Podcasts. If you could give us a rating and review, 5-star rating would be fantastic. A review, tell us something you like about the shows or something funny or whatever you want to do. If you want to get a chance to win a free Awesemo Plus monthly pass, those winners will be announced in the coming days. And then here's the link to that tweet if you need to check it out. Anything else, Nolan?
That's it. You and Cliffy possibly tomorrow? We'll see.
It appears that's going to be the case. I think it's a pretty short slate, but it'll be at least me, and then we'll figure it out after that. Good luck tonight, guys. Catch you tomorrow.